I've been married to Catherine for 57 years. 3 months ago, I installed a security camera system after our neighbor got robbed. But I kept noticing footage was being deleted. Entire nights would just disappear from the recordings. When I asked Catherine about it, she'd get defensive and angry, saying I was accusing her of something. I couldn't shake the feeling something terrible was happening during those deleted hours. So I bought a hidden recorder, but what I saw later destroyed me completely. Before that, tell us where you're watching from and what time it is there right now. And please subscribe to this channel so that my stories can reach more people. I married Catherine 57 years ago, when we were both young and full of dreams about what our life together would be. I was 28 years old. She was 26. We met at a dance hall in our hometown. She was the most beautiful woman I'd ever seen. I asked her to dance, and we talked all night. 3 months later, I proposed. 6 months after that, we were married in a small ceremony at her family's church. We built our life together from nothing. I was working construction back then, making decent money, but nothing special. Catherine worked as a secretary at an insurance office. We rented a tiny apartment that barely fit our furniture, but we were happy. We were in love. We had plans for our future. We talked about buying a house and having children and growing old together. All the dreams young couples have when they think life will be kind to them. We went through decades of struggle and joy together. We had 3 children over the years, 2 daughters and a son. Raising kids was hard, especially on one income after Catherine stopped working to stay home with them. Money was tight. There were months when we didn't know if we'd make rent, times when we ate rice and beans for dinner because that's all we could afford. But we survived. We supported each other. We were a team. We bought our first house when I was 35, a small 3-bedroom place in a decent neighborhood. We were so proud. That house represented everything we'd worked for. We raised our kids there. We made memories there. We survived financial hardships together. When I lost my construction job during a recession, Catherine went back to work. When she had health problems, I worked extra hours to cover medical bills. That's what married couples do. They support each other through hard times. Our kids grew up and moved away like kids do. Our oldest daughter lives in California now. Our younger daughter is in Texas. Our son used to live nearby, but he stopped speaking to me about 5 years ago. We had some argument about money or politics or something. I can't even remember what it was about anymore. But he cut off contact and hasn't spoken to me since. That loss hurt deeply. Losing a child even when they're still alive is a pain that never goes away. As our kids left and started their own families, Catherine and I found ourselves alone together again. Just the two of us, like when we first got married. Except now we were in our 70s. Our bodies were starting to fail. Our health was declining. We had each other, though. That's what mattered. We'd been through everything together. We'd survived poverty and loss and heartbreak. We'd built a life and a family. We'd made it to old age together. Last year I had to have heart surgery. It was serious. Triple bypass. The doctors said if I didn't have it, I'd probably die within months. Catherine was there with me through all of it. She stayed at the hospital during my surgery. She visited me every day during recovery. She took care of me when I came home. She helped me with my medications and my physical therapy. She cooked special heart-healthy meals. She was my caretaker and my companion through the scariest time of my life. I'm 85 years old now. Catherine is 83. We're both dealing with the realities of aging bodies that don't work like they used to. I take a dozen medications every day for my heart and blood pressure and cholesterol. I can't do the physical things I used to do. Simple tasks tire me out. Catherine has arthritis and diabetes. We're both slowing down. But we had each other. At least I thought we did. Our children are scattered across the country living their own busy lives. They call occasionally on birthdays and holidays. But they're not part of our daily life anymore. My oldest son hasn't spoken to me in 5 years. My daughters have their own families and problems. They're not bad people. They're just busy. They have their own lives. We're not a priority anymore. That's the reality of being old. Your children grow up and move away, and you become less important to them. It hurts, but it's how life works. So it was just me and Catherine, 2 old people living in our house together. We had our routines, our habits, our comfortable patterns built over decades of marriage. I thought we were content. I thought we were making the best of our remaining years together. I thought after 57 years of marriage, we were solid. We'd survived everything life had thrown at us. We'd made it to old age together. We were supposed to finish this journey side by side. Catherine was my constant companion, the only person left in my life who'd been there through everything, the only person who remembered our youth and our struggles and our triumphs. She was my witness to my life, my partner, my wife. I trusted her completely. I depended on her. I loved her. After 57 years, I thought I knew her. I thought our bond was unbreakable. I thought nothing could come between us at this stage of life. I was wrong about all of it. 3 months ago, our neighbor's house was broken into while they were on vacation. Thieves smashed a window and stole electronics and jewelry. The whole neighborhood was shaken up by it. Our street had always been safe. We'd never had problems with crime before. But suddenly, everyone was worried. People were installing better locks and alarm systems. Everyone was talking about home security and how vulnerable we all were as targets. I started thinking about our own safety. Catherine and I were two elderly people living alone in a house full of valuables accumulated over a lifetime. We had jewelry and electronics and family heirlooms. More importantly, we were physically vulnerable. If someone broke in, we couldn't defend ourselves. I couldn't fight anyone off at my age with my bad heart. Catherine couldn't run or call for help quickly. We were sitting ducks if someone targeted us. So I decided to install a home security camera system. Nothing too fancy or expensive, just something basic that would give us peace of mind. I researched different systems online. I read reviews. I compared prices and features. I wanted something simple that an old man like me could manage. Something that didn't require a monthly subscription or complicated setup. Just cameras that would record what happened in and around our house. I ended up buying a basic system with 2 cameras. One camera I installed at our front door pointing out at the porch and driveway. The other camera I put in our living room pointing toward the front entrance. The cameras recorded continuously to a hard drive connected to my computer in our bedroom. I could check the footage anytime I wanted. I could see who came to our door. I could see if anything unusual happened in our living room when we weren't there. The installation was fairly simple even for someone my age who's not great with technology. I followed the instructions that came with the system. I mounted the cameras where I wanted them. I connected everything to the hard drive and my computer. I set up the software to record continuously. Within a few hours, I had a working security system. I felt safer knowing we had cameras watching our property. The system worked well for the first few weeks. I'd check the footage occasionally just to see if it was recording properly. I'd fast forward through hours of nothing happening. Just our empty driveway, our quiet living room, normal everyday footage of an old couple's boring life. The cameras gave me peace of mind. I felt like we were protected. If anyone tried to break in, we'd have video evidence. If anything suspicious happened, we'd know about it. Then I started noticing something strange. There would be gaps in the footage. Entire blocks of time would be missing from the recordings. I'd check the hard drive and whole nights would be gone. The footage would show evening up until maybe 11 or midnight. Then it would jump straight to morning at 6 or 7. The hours in between would be completely erased. Gone like they never existed. At first I thought maybe there was something wrong with the system. Maybe the cameras weren't working properly. Maybe the hard drive had some technical issue that was causing it to lose data. I'm not a tech expert. These things happen with electronics sometimes. So I didn't think too much about it initially. I figured I'd call tech support or maybe take the system back to the store if it kept happening. But when I mentioned the missing footage to Catherine, she reacted strangely. I said something casual like, "Hey, the security camera footage keeps deleting itself at night. I think there might be a problem with the system." I expected her to be concerned or interested, or maybe suggest we call someone to fix it. Instead, she got defensive. She said, "Why are you so obsessed with watching that camera footage? Do you sit there all day staring at recordings of nothing?" Her response struck me as odd. It seemed like an overreaction to a simple technical problem. I wasn't obsessed with the footage. I was just concerned that our security system wasn't working properly. What was the point of having cameras if they weren't recording when we needed them to? But Catherine acted like I was accusing her of something. She seemed almost angry that I'd brought it up. I tried to explain I just wanted the system to work correctly, that we'd spent money on it for our safety, that having gaps in the recording defeated the whole purpose. but she waved me off. She said maybe I'd accidentally deleted the footage myself. She suggested the hard drive was full and automatically deleting old recordings to make space. She came up with various explanations that sounded plausible enough on the surface. She said it was probably just technical glitches that happen with electronics. I wanted to believe her explanations. It made sense that an old man like me might not understand how the system worked. Maybe I was doing something wrong without realizing it. Maybe there were automatic settings I didn't know about. So I dropped the subject. I didn't want to argue with my wife over security camera footage. It seemed silly to make a big deal about it. But the deletions kept happening, and I started noticing a pattern. The footage wasn't randomly disappearing. It was specific nights, specific time blocks. Every Tuesday and Friday night, the footage from midnight to 6 in the morning would be completely erased, like clockwork. Too consistent to be random technical glitches, too systematic to be accidental. Someone was deliberately deleting those recordings, and the only other person in our house was Catherine. Once I realized the deletions were happening on a specific schedule, I couldn't stop thinking about it. Every Tuesday and Friday, like clockwork, always the same time window. Midnight to 6 in the morning. Never random nights, never different time blocks. Just those 2 nights every single week with those exact 6 hours erased from the recordings. That kind of consistency meant someone was deliberately deleting the footage, and that someone could only be Catherine. I started paying more attention to the pattern. I'd check the recordings every Wednesday and Saturday morning after the deletions happened. Sure enough, the footage from the previous night would be gone. I'd see recordings up until around 11:30 or midnight. Then nothing. Just a gap. Then the recordings would pick up again around 6 in the morning, showing our empty living room in the early daylight. Those missing hours bothered me more and more. I tried bringing it up to Catherine again. I tried to be casual about it. I didn't want to accuse her directly because that would cause a fight. So I said something like, "Isn't it strange how the camera footage keeps getting deleted on Tuesday and Friday nights? Always the same nights. Always the same time. What do you think could cause that?" I was hoping she'd have some innocent explanation that would put my mind at ease. But instead, she got frustrated and defensive again. Her reaction was even stronger than the first time I'd mentioned it. She said, "Why are you obsessed with this stupid camera system? Are you accusing me of something? Do you think I'm sneaking around at night doing something wrong? Is that what you think of your wife after 57 years? Her voice was sharp and angry. She made me feel like I was being paranoid and unreasonable for asking a simple question. I backed down immediately. I didn't want to fight with my wife. I said no. Of course I wasn't accusing her of anything. I said I was just curious about the technical issue. I tried to smooth things over, but inside I was troubled by her reaction. Why was she so defensive? Why did a simple question about missing camera footage make her so angry? If she had nothing to hide, why couldn't she just acknowledge it was strange and help me figure out what was happening? Her defensiveness felt wrong to me. It felt disproportionate to what should have been an innocent technical problem. If the cameras were malfunctioning, a normal response would be concern or interest in fixing them. Maybe suggesting we call tech support or return the system. But Catherine's response was to get angry and accuse me of not trusting her. That kind of reaction usually means someone has something to hide. I'd been alive long enough to recognize when people were deflecting. I'm 85 years old. My body is failing in all kinds of ways. My heart is weak. My knees hurt. My hands shake sometimes. I move slowly. I get tired easily. I'm not the man I used to be physically. But my mind is still sharp. My brain still works fine. I can still think clearly and recognize patterns and put pieces together. And everything about this situation was setting off alarm bells in my mind that something wasn't right. I started thinking about what could possibly be happening during those deleted hours. What was Catherine doing between midnight and 6 in the morning every Tuesday and Friday that she didn't want recorded? Why those specific nights? Why was she going through the trouble of deleting the footage? What was she hiding from me? The questions haunted me. I couldn't stop thinking about possible answers. Maybe she was having trouble sleeping and was walking around the house at night and didn't want me to know because she didn't want me to worry. That was the innocent explanation I wanted to believe. Maybe she was embarrassed about insomnia or restlessness. Maybe she was doing something harmless she considered private. Those explanations would be fine. I could accept those. But my gut told me it was something worse. Something she was actively hiding. Something that would hurt me if I found out. The systematic deletions, the specific schedule, the angry defensiveness. None of that fit with innocent explanations. It all pointed to something she desperately wanted to keep secret, something she knew would destroy our marriage if I discovered it. I thought about confronting her directly, just asking her point blank what she was doing during those hours and why she was deleting the footage. But I knew she'd just deny it. She'd get angry and defensive like she'd done before. She'd accuse me of not trusting her. She'd turn it around on me and make me feel guilty for questioning her. I'd seen her do that pattern before on other topics over the years. She was good at deflecting when she didn't want to talk about something. I also thought about just letting it go. Maybe I was being paranoid. Maybe there was an innocent explanation I wasn't seeing. Maybe I was creating problems where none existed. We were both old. We'd been married for 57 years. What could she possibly be hiding at this point in our lives? We were in our 80s. Too old for affairs or secret lives. Or at least that's what I tried to tell myself. But I couldn't let it go. The deleted footage bothered me too much. The pattern was too clear. Catherine's reaction was too defensive. Something was definitely happening during those hours. Something she desperately wanted hidden. And I needed to know what it was, even if the answer destroyed me. I couldn't shake the feeling that something terrible was happening during those deleted hours every Tuesday and Friday night. The feeling kept me awake. It consumed my thoughts during the day. I'd sit in my chair pretending to watch television, but really I was thinking about what Catherine might be hiding. My mind went to dark places. I imagined worst-case scenarios. I needed to know the truth, even if it destroyed me. I needed to see what was happening during those missing 6 hours. So I decided to buy a hidden recording device that Catherine wouldn't know about. Something separate from the security camera system she was deleting. If I could record those missing hours without her knowledge, I'd finally see what she was hiding. The idea of spying on my own wife felt wrong. It felt like a betrayal of trust after 57 years of marriage. But she'd been betraying my trust first by systematically deleting footage and lying about it. I was just trying to uncover the truth. I went online and started researching hidden cameras. I'd never bought anything like this before. I didn't know such things existed until I started looking. But apparently there's a huge market for covert recording devices. Cameras hidden in clocks, cameras hidden in picture frames, cameras hidden in smoke detectors, cameras hidden in everyday objects that nobody would suspect. The options were overwhelming for an old man not used to this kind of technology. I finally found something that seemed perfect for my needs. It was a small recording device designed to look exactly like a phone charger. Just a normal white phone charger that you'd plug into any wall outlet. But hidden inside was a tiny camera and recording equipment. It would record continuously to its own separate SD card. Nobody would ever suspect a phone charger was actually a camera. Catherine wouldn't recognize it as anything unusual. It was perfect. I ordered it online using my credit card. I had it shipped to our house because I didn't have anywhere else to send it. I was worried Catherine might see the package and ask questions. But I got lucky. The package arrived on a day when she was out running errands. I grabbed it from the porch before she got home. I opened it in my bedroom and read the instructions carefully. The device was smaller than I expected. Very discreet. Very simple to use. The setup was straightforward even for someone like me who struggles with technology. You just plugged it into any wall outlet. It started recording automatically. The camera lens was hidden in a tiny hole that looked like a normal charger detail. Nobody would notice it unless they were specifically looking for hidden cameras. The device came with a small SD card that could record for days before running out of space. You could remove the SD card and view the recordings on any computer. I needed to install this hidden camera somewhere in our house where it would capture whatever was happening during those deleted hours. The living room seemed like the logical place. That's where one of my regular security cameras was pointed. That was the footage Catherine kept deleting. So whatever she was hiding was probably happening in or near the living room. I needed my hidden camera to record that same space. I waited until Catherine went out for one of her regular activities. She volunteered at her church every Wednesday morning helping with their food pantry program. She'd be gone for at least 3 hours. That gave me plenty of time to install the hidden recorder without her knowing. I felt guilty sneaking around behind my wife's back, but I told myself I was just trying to protect myself. I was trying to uncover the truth about what she was hiding. I went into our living room and looked for the best place to install the fake phone charger. I needed an outlet that had a good view of the room and the front door. I found a perfect spot on the wall opposite our couch. There was an outlet there that wasn't being used for anything. It had a clear view of most of the living room, including the area in front of our front door. If someone came in that door, the camera would see them clearly. I plugged the device into the outlet. A tiny red light blinked for a second, indicating it was recording. Then the light turned off. The device looked exactly like a normal phone charger plugged into the wall. Nothing suspicious, nothing unusual. Catherine would walk past it 100 times and never notice it was actually a camera. I felt a mix of relief and guilt. Relief that I'd successfully installed it. Guilt that I was spying on my own wife. I left it there recording continuously. The instructions said the SD card could hold about a week of footage before it would start overwriting old recordings. That meant I could let it record for several days and then review everything that happened. I'd finally see what Catherine was doing during those deleted hours on Tuesday and Friday nights. I'd finally know the truth. Part of me hoped I'd find nothing. Part of me hoped there was an innocent explanation for everything. But deep down, I knew I was about to discover something that would change everything. I let the hidden camera record for a full week. That gave it time to capture at least one Tuesday and one Friday night. The nights when Catherine deleted the regular security footage. The nights when whatever she was hiding happened. During that week, I went about my normal routine trying to act natural around Catherine. I didn't want her to suspect anything was different. I didn't want her to know I was investigating her. I just lived my regular life while the fake phone charger on the wall silently recorded everything. That week felt like the longest week of my life. Every day dragged by. I kept thinking about what might be on that recording. What terrible thing was I about to discover? Part of me wanted to check the footage immediately, but I forced myself to wait. I wanted to make sure I captured enough to see the full pattern. I wanted multiple nights of footage so I could see if whatever was happening was consistent. So I waited the full week, even though the anticipation was killing me. Finally, the following Wednesday came. Catherine had her regular church volunteer morning. She left the house around 9 o'clock like she did every Wednesday. She said she'd be gone until at least noon. That gave me 3 hours to remove the SD card and review the footage without her knowing. As soon as her car pulled out of the driveway, I went to the living room. My hands were shaking as I approached the fake phone charger. This was it. I was about to see the truth. I unplugged the device from the wall and carefully removed the tiny SD card from the slot on the side. The card was smaller than my thumbnail. Amazing that something so small could hold a week of video recordings. I took the card to my bedroom where I had my computer set up on the desk. I found the SD card adapter that came with the device. I inserted the card and plugged it into my computer. My heart was pounding as I waited for the files to load. The computer recognized the card and opened a folder showing multiple video files. Each file was labeled with a date and time. There were dozens of files covering the full week of recording. I scrolled through looking for the Tuesday night footage. That would be 5 days ago. I found the file labeled with that date starting at midnight. I took a deep breath and opened it. This was the moment of truth. Whatever Catherine had been hiding was about to be revealed. The video player opened, showing our dark living room. The quality was decent despite the low light. I could see the outline of our furniture, the couch, the coffee table, the front door visible on the left side of the frame. The clock on the wall showing it was just after midnight. Nothing was happening yet. Just our empty living room in the middle of the night. I fast-forwarded the video, watching the timestamp advance. 12:30, 1 o'clock, 1:30. Still nothing. I kept fast-forwarding. 2 o'clock came and went. Still just our dark, empty living room. Maybe nothing happened that night. Maybe I'd been wrong about everything. Maybe Catherine really was just having technical problems with the security camera. Maybe I'd been paranoid for nothing. I started to feel foolish for going through all this trouble. For buying a hidden camera, for spying on my wife. Maybe our marriage wasn't in danger after all. Then, at 2:14 in the morning, I saw movement at our front door. I stopped fast-forwarding and hit play at normal speed. My finger was shaking on the mouse. I leaned closer to the computer screen. The front door was opening. Someone was coming into our house in the middle of the night. My breath caught in my throat. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Someone was entering our home at 2 in the morning. An intruder. A burglar. But why hadn't Catherine woken me? Why hadn't our security alarm gone off? Then I saw who it was coming through the door. A man I'd never seen before in my life. He was probably in his 60s, average height and build. He was wearing casual clothes, jeans and a button-down shirt. He moved through our doorway with complete confidence. Not like someone breaking in, like someone who'd been invited, like someone who knew exactly where he was and had permission to be there. He closed the door quietly behind him. Then he stood in our living room looking toward our bedroom hallway. My heart was racing, my hands were gripping the desk so hard my knuckles were white. Who was this man? Why was he in our house? Why was he here at 2 in the morning? Then I saw movement from the hallway. Another figure was coming into the living room. I knew immediately who it was even before I could see clearly. It was Catherine, my wife. She was coming out of our bedroom wearing a nightgown I'd never seen before. A fancy silk nightgown. Not the practical cotton nightgowns she usually wore to bed. This was something special, something she'd bought and hidden from me. Catherine walked toward the man with a smile on her face, a smile I hadn't seen directed at me in years, a smile of genuine happiness and excitement. She looked younger somehow, more alive. The man opened his arms and Catherine walked right into them. They embraced immediately, holding each other tight. Then they kissed. Not a friendly peck, a real kiss. A passionate kiss between two people who were intimate with each other. I watched in horror as my wife of 57 years kissed another man in our living room at 2 in the morning while I'd been sleeping 20 feet away. I sat frozen in my chair, staring at my computer screen, unable to move or breathe properly. Catherine and this strange man were kissing in our living room. They finally broke apart after what felt like an eternity, but was probably only 10 or 15 seconds. They were smiling at each other, looking into each other's eyes. Catherine reached up and touched his face gently. He put his hand over hers. They were acting like a couple in love, like two people who'd been together for years and knew each other intimately. They moved toward our couch, the same couch where Catherine and I sat together watching television most evenings, the same couch we'd owned for probably 20 years. They sat down close together. His arm went around her shoulders. She leaned into him. They were comfortable with each other. Familiar. This wasn't the first time they'd been together like this. This was routine for them. A pattern they'd established over time. I wanted to stop watching. I wanted to close the video and pretend I'd never seen it. But I couldn't look away. I needed to see everything. I needed to know the full extent of what Catherine had been hiding. So I kept watching, even though every second felt like a knife in my chest. Even though I wanted to scream or cry or break something. I just sat there frozen, watching my wife betray me in my own home. They talked for a while. I couldn't hear the audio because the hidden camera didn't have sound recording, but I could see their mouths moving. They were having a conversation, laughing sometimes. Catherine looked happy, more animated than I'd seen her in months. She touched his arm while she talked. He brushed her hair back from her face. These were intimate gestures between people who cared about each other, between people who were more than friends. Then things progressed beyond just talking. The man pulled Catherine closer. They started kissing again, more intensely this time. His hands were in her hair. Her arms were around his neck. They kissed like that for several minutes. Then they started moving, lying down on the couch together. I turned away from the screen. I couldn't watch anymore, but I forced myself to look back. I needed to see this. I needed to know exactly what Catherine had been doing. What happened next on that couch was more than I could handle watching. I fast-forwarded through parts of it, but I watched enough to understand what was happening. Catherine was having sex with this man on our living room couch, the same couch where we sat together every evening, where we watched the news and game shows, where we'd raised our children and entertained our friends over the years. She was betraying our 57-year marriage on our furniture while I slept in our bedroom nearby. This went on for about an hour, according to the timestamp on the video. Sometimes they were on the couch, sometimes they moved to the floor. They were completely comfortable with each other. This was clearly not their first time together. They knew each other's bodies. They moved together like practiced lovers. My wife of 57 years was having an affair with a stranger in our house, while I slept 20 feet away, believing she was asleep beside me. Finally, around 3:30 in the morning, they finished and got dressed. They sat on the couch together for a while talking. Catherine was curled up against him. His arm was around her. They looked like a married couple relaxing together. She looked content, happy, at peace. I couldn't remember the last time she'd looked at me that way. The last time she'd wanted physical closeness with me. The last time she'd seemed genuinely happy in my presence. Around 4 o'clock, the man stood up to leave. Catherine walked him to the front door. They kissed goodbye, a long, lingering kiss. Then he slipped out the door and was gone. Catherine stood there for a moment with her hand on the closed door. Then she went to my computer in the bedroom. I could see her through the doorway on the camera. She was deleting the security camera footage from that night, erasing the evidence of what had just happened. After she deleted the footage, Catherine went to the bathroom. I could hear water running. She was cleaning herself up, getting rid of any evidence. Then she came back through the living room, heading to our bedroom. She walked right past the hidden camera, not knowing it had recorded everything. She looked satisfied, relaxed, like someone who'd just had a pleasant evening. She went back to our bedroom to climb into bed next to me and pretend she'd been there sleeping all night. I sat there staring at the computer screen, even though the interesting part was over. The timestamp showed 4:30 in the morning. Catherine was back in bed. I'd been sleeping through all of this, completely unaware that my wife had just spent 2 hours with another man in our living room. I'd been sleeping peacefully, believing everything was fine in our marriage. Believing Catherine was loyal after 57 years together. Believing we'd finish our lives together with dignity and love. I checked the Friday night footage. The exact same thing happened. Same man, same time, same routine. He arrived at 2:14 in the morning. Catherine met him. They spent about 2 hours together on our couch. Then he left. Then she deleted the security footage. This had been happening twice a week. Every Tuesday and Friday for who knows how long. Months, probably. Maybe longer. This wasn't some one-time mistake. This was a sustained affair with a regular schedule. I sat there in my bedroom for hours watching the hidden camera footage from multiple nights. Each Tuesday and Friday was the same. The man would arrive at our house at exactly 2:14 in the morning. Catherine would meet him wearing that silk nightgown I'd never seen. They'd embrace and kiss. Then they'd spend about 2 hours together on our couch doing things I couldn't bear to watch in detail. Then he'd leave around 4:30. Then Catherine would delete the security camera footage before coming back to bed with me. The systematic nature of it was what made it so much worse. This wasn't some impulsive mistake. This wasn't Catherine having a one-time affair in a moment of weakness. This was planned and scheduled. They had a regular routine, Tuesday and Friday nights at 2:14 in the morning, the same time every week. They'd been doing this for months at minimum, maybe longer. I had no way to know when it started. All I knew was it had been happening regularly while I slept 20 feet away, completely oblivious. I thought about all those Tuesday and Friday nights over the past months. I'd been going to bed around 10 or 11 like I always did. I took my heart medication, which included a sleeping pill my doctor prescribed. That pill knocked me out pretty hard. I'd sleep deeply from around 11 at night until 6 or 7 in the morning. I never woke up during the night, never heard anything, never suspected my wife was sneaking out of our bed to meet another man in our living room. Catherine had been using my medication schedule to her advantage. She knew the sleeping pill made me unconscious for about 8 hours. She knew I wouldn't wake up once I took it, so she'd wait until I was deeply asleep. Then she'd sneak out of our bedroom. She'd changed into that silk nightgown I'd never seen. She'd let this man into our house through the front door. They'd spend hours together while I slept nearby. Then she'd clean up any evidence, delete the security footage, change back into her regular nightgown, and slip back into bed beside me like nothing had happened. The betrayal was so complete it was hard to process. This wasn't just about sex. This was about systematic deception, about lying to me every single day, about living a double life. Catherine had been playing the role of devoted wife during the day, taking care of me after my heart surgery, cooking my meals, doing my laundry, sitting with me watching television in the evening, all while secretly meeting another man twice a week in our house while I slept. I wondered how long this had been going on. The security camera deletions had been happening for at least 3 months since I installed the system. But the affair could have started much earlier. Before I had cameras. They could have been meeting in our house for a year or more. I had no way to know. I'd been completely blind to it. Trusting Catherine completely. Never suspecting she was capable of something like this. I thought about all the times I'd taken my sleeping medication and gone to bed early because I was tired or not feeling well. All those nights I'd slept soundly, believing my wife was beside me. How many of those nights had she actually been with him? How many times had she sneaked out of our bed to meet her lover? The thought made me sick. My own bedroom felt violated. My own bed felt contaminated. She'd been lying next to me pretending to sleep before getting up to betray me. The location of the affair made it worse somehow. If Catherine had been meeting this man at a hotel or his house, it would still be cheating. It would still be a betrayal. But doing it in our home while I was there felt more cruel, more disrespectful. She was bringing another man into our house, into the space where we'd built our life together, into the home where we'd raised our children. She was defiling our marriage in the most intimate way possible. I thought about our couch, the couch where they'd been having sex. I'd been sitting on that couch every night with Catherine. We'd watch the news together. We'd talk about our day. We'd fall asleep there sometimes with the television on. And all along, she'd been using that same couch to cheat on me. Every time I sat there now, I'd think about what they'd done. I'd never be able to use that couch again without seeing images of them together. Catherine had been so careful about hiding this. She'd chosen times when I'd be deeply asleep from medication. She'd been deleting the security camera footage so there'd be no evidence. She'd been acting completely normal during the day. She'd shown no signs of guilt or stress. She'd kissed me goodbye when I went out. She'd asked about my doctor appointments. She'd acted like a caring wife while secretly planning her next encounter with her lover. The cruelty of it was staggering. I'm 85 years old. I have a bad heart. I'm physically weak. I depend on Catherine for help with daily tasks. She knows I'm vulnerable. She knows I need her. She knows I trust her completely. And she'd been taking advantage of all of that to conduct an affair in our own home, using my medication and my trust and my physical limitations against me, making me feel safe and loved while systematically betraying me. I didn't know how long I could keep watching the footage. Each minute was torture, but I forced myself to see it all. I needed to understand the full scope of what Catherine had done. I needed to know exactly what I was dealing with, so I kept watching through tears, through rage, through heartbreak that felt like it might actually stop my already damaged heart. I heard Catherine come home around noon like she'd said. The front door opened. She called out asking if I was home. I didn't answer at first. I was still sitting at my computer with the hidden camera footage paused on the screen. I'd been watching and rewatching it for hours, trying to understand, trying to process, trying to figure out what to do. I heard her moving around downstairs, putting away groceries probably, going about her normal routine like everything was fine, like she hadn't been conducting an affair behind my back. I knew I had to confront her. I couldn't pretend I didn't know. I couldn't keep living with this knowledge eating me alive. I needed answers. I needed to hear her explain why she'd done this. I needed to look her in the eyes and see if she'd tell me the truth or if she'd keep lying. So I closed my computer and stood up. My legs were shaky. My heart was racing. I felt like I might collapse, but I had to do this. I had to face her. I went downstairs and found Catherine in the kitchen. She was putting groceries away, humming to herself. She looked cheerful, content, like a woman without any guilt or secrets. She smiled when she saw me. "Hey, honey, did you have a good morning? I got your favorite crackers at the store." Her casual friendliness made me want to scream. How could she act so normal? How could she smile at me after what she'd been doing? I didn't smile back. I just looked at her. My face must have shown something because her expression changed. The smile faded. She looked concerned. Are you okay? You look upset. Is your heart bothering you? Do you need to sit down? She moved toward me like she was going to help me, like the caring wife she'd been pretending to be. I stepped back. I didn't want her touching me. I didn't want her anywhere near me. I forced the words out. Who is he? My voice cracked. Catherine froze. Her face went pale. What are you talking about? She was trying to play dumb, trying to pretend she didn't understand, but I could see the fear in her eyes. She knew exactly what I was talking about. The man who comes to our house every Tuesday and Friday night at 2:14 in the morning. Who is he, Catherine? She tried to deny it. I don't know what you mean. Nobody comes to our house at night. You're confused. Maybe you had a bad dream. She was going to gaslight me, make me think I was crazy. But I had proof. I had video evidence. She couldn't lie her way out of this. I pulled out my phone. I'd transferred some of the video files to my phone before coming downstairs. I opened one and held it up so she could see the screen. The video showed her and the man kissing in our living room. Catherine's face drained of all color. She stared at the phone, then at me. Her mouth opened but no words came out. She looked terrified, caught. There was no denying it now. The evidence was right there on my phone. Her affair captured on video. All her lies exposed. She reached for the phone, but I pulled it back. I installed a hidden camera. I recorded everything, every Tuesday and Friday for weeks. I know what you've been doing, Catherine. She started crying, big tears rolling down her face. But I felt nothing. No sympathy. No urge to comfort her. She didn't deserve my comfort. She'd made her choices. She'd betrayed me systematically for months, maybe years. Her tears were meaningless. I'm so sorry, she sobbed. I never wanted you to find out this way. I never wanted to hurt you. But she had hurt me. She'd destroyed me. She'd taken 57 years of marriage and thrown it all away. I asked again. Who is he? My voice was cold now. Hard. All the softness I'd ever felt for this woman was gone. Catherine wiped her eyes. She took a shaky breath. His name is Robert. We met at church 2 years ago. He's a widower. We started talking. Then we started meeting. I'm so sorry. It just happened. It just happened. Like she had no control. Like she'd accidentally fallen into an affair. Like she hadn't been deliberately planning and scheduling these meetings for months. 2 years. She'd been seeing this man for 2 years. That meant the affair started long before I even installed the security cameras. Long before I suspected anything. For 2 full years, Catherine had been living a double life, playing the role of my devoted wife while secretly meeting another man. 2 years of systematic lies and deception. I felt like I didn't know the woman standing in front of me at all. I asked the question I was dreading. Why? Catherine looked at the floor. She couldn't meet my eyes. She took a long breath before answering. I've been lonely. You've changed since your heart surgery. You're not the man I married anymore. You're withdrawn and difficult. Robert makes me feel alive again. He makes me feel young. He pays attention to me. I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry it happened. I deserve happiness too. She was blaming me, turning this around to make it my fault. I'd changed after my heart surgery. I'd become difficult. So that justified her cheating. That made it okay for her to betray our marriage. I stared at this woman I'd been married to for 57 years and realized I'd never really known her at all. The Catherine I thought I'd married would never do something like this. Would never justify betrayal. Would never blame her husband for her own choices. Catherine kept trying to justify what she'd done. She said I'd become difficult to live with after my heart surgery. She said I wasn't the same person anymore. She said my health problems had changed our relationship. She said she needed companionship and affection that I couldn't provide. She said she'd tried to be patient, but she had needs too. She said Robert gave her things I couldn't give her anymore. She said all of this like it explained everything, like it made her betrayal acceptable. I listened to her excuses, feeling nothing but disgust. Yes, I'd changed after my heart surgery. I was 85 years old recovering from major surgery. Of course I'd changed. I was weaker. I tired easily. I needed help with things I used to do myself. I took medications that made me tired. I couldn't do the physical things we used to do together. But that's what happens when people get old. Bodies fail. Health declines. That's part of life. Part of marriage. You support each other through the difficult times. I'd taken care of Catherine through her health problems over the years, when she had her gallbladder removed, when she broke her hip, when she developed diabetes. I'd been there for all of it. I'd helped her, supported her, never complained, never looked elsewhere because she couldn't do everything she used to do. That's what marriage means. You stay committed through sickness and health, through good times and bad, through aging and decline. That's the promise we'd made 57 years ago. But apparently those vows meant nothing to Catherine when I became less convenient, when caring for me became work, when I couldn't meet her needs the way I used to. She'd found someone else, someone who made her feel young and alive, someone without health problems or limitations, someone who could give her the attention and affection she wanted. And instead of talking to me about it, instead of being honest about her unhappiness, she'd snuck around behind my back for 2 years. The cruelty of bringing Robert into our home while I slept was beyond anything I could understand. She could have met him anywhere else, a hotel, his house, anywhere. But she'd brought him into our home, into the space where we'd built our life together. She'd let him into our living room, onto our couch, into the most intimate parts of our shared life. She'd violated our home, our marriage, our 57 years together. And she'd done it while I was sleeping in our bedroom, while I was vulnerable and unconscious from medication. She'd used my heart condition against me, used the sleeping pills I took to manage my health. She'd known I'd be knocked out and wouldn't wake up. So she'd felt safe conducting her affair just feet away from where I slept. The calculation behind that was chilling. It showed how little she cared about me, how little our marriage meant to her. Catherine kept saying she was sorry. She kept crying and apologizing. But her apologies rang hollow. She wasn't sorry for what she'd done. She was sorry she'd been caught. If I hadn't installed that hidden camera, she'd still be meeting Robert, still deleting security footage, still climbing into bed next to me after being with him, still lying to my face every single day. She was sorry she couldn't continue her affair in secret. That's what she was sorry about. I told her to stop crying, to stop apologizing. It was meaningless. Nothing she could say would fix this. Nothing would undo 2 years of betrayal. Nothing would erase the image of her with Robert on our couch. Nothing would make me trust her again. Our marriage was over. 57 years destroyed because she couldn't handle the reality of aging. Because she wanted to feel young again. Because she was selfish and cowardly. Catherine asked what I was going to do. Whether I'd tell our children. Whether I'd file for divorce. Her voice was small and scared, like she was worried about the consequences of her actions, like she cared about her reputation and what people would think. I told her I didn't know yet. I needed time to think. I needed to process everything. But yes, our children would know the truth. Yes, I would probably file for divorce. I wasn't going to protect her from the consequences of what she'd done. She tried to argue, said we were too old for divorce, said it would be too complicated at our age, said we should just work through this, stay together for appearances. She actually suggested I should forgive her and we should continue our marriage like nothing happened. Like I could just forget about 2 years of systematic betrayal. Like I could sleep next to her knowing what she'd done. The audacity of it was staggering. I looked at this woman I'd been married to for 57 years. This woman I'd loved and trusted completely. This woman I'd built a life with, raised children with, survived hardships with. I looked at her and saw a stranger. Someone I didn't know at all. Someone capable of cruelty I'd never imagined. Someone who'd thrown away decades of marriage for fleeting happiness with another man. I felt nothing for her. No love, no affection, no connection. Just emptiness where those feelings used to be. I was 85 years old. My eldest son had stopped speaking to me 5 years ago. My other children were scattered across the country living their own lives. And now my wife of 57 years had betrayed me in the worst possible way. I had no one left in this world I could trust, no one who truly cared about me. I'd reached the end of my life surrounded by betrayal and abandonment instead of the family I'd sacrificed everything to build. I filed for divorce at 85 years old, something I never imagined I'd be doing at this stage of my life. I thought Catherine and I would be together until one of us died. I thought we'd finish our lives side by side like we'd started them, but she'd destroyed that future with her choices. So I hired a lawyer and started the divorce process. It felt surreal signing papers to end a 57-year marriage. But there was no other option. I couldn't stay married to someone who'd betrayed me so completely. The divorce process was complicated. We had to divide assets accumulated over nearly 6 decades together. Our house, our savings, our retirement accounts. Everything we'd built together had to be split apart. My lawyer said Catherine would likely get half of everything. That's how divorce works, even when one spouse is at fault. Even though she'd been the one having the affair. Even though she'd been the one who destroyed our marriage. She'd still walk away with half our money. Half the house we'd lived in for 40 years. Half of everything. Catherine moved out within a week of me filing the papers. She didn't even try to stay. Didn't try to work things out. Didn't try to save our marriage. She packed her clothes and personal items and left. I found out later she moved directly into Robert's house, the man she'd been seeing for 2 years, her affair partner. She moved in with him like they were a couple, like she'd just been waiting for an excuse to leave me, like our 57 years together meant nothing. I called our children to tell them what was happening. That was one of the hardest conversations I've ever had. Having to explain to your adult children that their mother had been cheating on you, that your marriage was ending, that their parents wouldn't be together anymore. Their reactions varied. My youngest daughter was sympathetic. She was angry at her mother for what she'd done. She offered to come visit me. My other daughter was more neutral. She said she was sorry but didn't want to take sides. She said marriages are complicated and she wasn't going to judge either of us. My son, who'd already stopped speaking to me years ago, didn't respond at all when his sisters told him. I don't know if he cares. I don't know what he thinks about any of this. We haven't spoken in 5 years over some stupid argument I can't even remember. Now his parents are getting divorced, and he doesn't even acknowledge it. My eldest child, who I raised and supported and loved, has completely written me out of his life. None of my children offered to take me in or help me figure out what to do next. They all had their own lives, their own families, their own problems. I understood that. I didn't expect them to drop everything for me, but it hurt knowing I was truly alone now. My wife was gone. My son didn't speak to me. My daughters lived far away with their own busy lives. I was 85 years old with a bad heart living by myself for the first time in my life. The house feels empty now, haunted by memories and betrayal. I walk through rooms that used to be filled with family and life. Now there's just me and silence. I eat my meals alone at the kitchen table. I watch television alone in the living room, the same living room where Catherine conducted her affair. I can't sit on that couch anymore. I got rid of it, bought a new one. But I still see them there every time I walk through that room. The image is burned into my brain from watching that hidden camera footage. I took down the security cameras. I don't need them anymore. There's nothing left to protect, nobody left to monitor. Just an old man living alone in a house that feels too big and too empty. I kept the hidden recorder though. I kept the SD card with all the footage. Evidence of what Catherine did. Proof that I wasn't crazy or paranoid. Proof that my instincts were right when I noticed those deleted files. My daily routine is simple now. I wake up alone. I make my own breakfast. I take my heart medications. I watch the news. I eat lunch alone. I watch more television. I eat dinner alone. I take my evening medications, including that sleeping pill that Catherine used to use against me. Then I go to bed alone. No wife beside me. No partner to share my life with. Just emptiness and silence. Some of my neighbors have asked where Catherine is. I tell them we're getting divorced. They look shocked. They say things like, "At your age?" or "After all those years?" Like divorce is only for young people, like old people are supposed to stay together no matter what. But age doesn't make betrayal acceptable. Years don't erase cheating. I refuse to spend whatever time I have left living with someone who destroyed my trust. I think about the footage from that hidden camera constantly. The image of Catherine at 2:14 in the morning with Robert. The way she looked at him. The way she kissed him. The way she smiled. She looked happier with him than she'd looked with me in years. That knowledge cuts deeper than anything else. She'd found something with him that she didn't have with me anymore. Something she valued more than 57 years of marriage. I'm 85 years old now. I don't know how many years I have left. My heart is damaged. My body is failing. I could have a few months or a few years. However long it is, I'll spend it alone. Without the wife I thought would be with me until the end. Without the family I'd sacrificed everything to build. My son abandoned me years ago. My wife betrayed me. My daughters are sympathetic but distant. I've reached the end of my life surrounded by loneliness instead of love. I don't know whom to trust in this world anymore. If Catherine could betray me after 57 years, then anyone could betray me. If the person who knew me best could hurt me worst, then nobody is trustworthy. Maybe I never really knew her. Maybe our whole marriage was a lie, and I was too blind to see it. Maybe trust itself is just an illusion we tell ourselves to feel safe.